Welcome, everyone, to Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. I'm Yogi Chris, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, captain of IMC Nation, one of three captains of IMC Nation, the first captain, which is the highest rank underneath the founder, AZD, who I live with. And I'm streaming to you here from IMC Base 1, the first of 7 bases at the time of this recording. Many new bases are on tap to be created. Lots of guys moving around the world to live with each other in this sort of Fight Club type scenario. That is way better than Fight Club because they were a bunch of anarchists and whatever, if you've ever seen the movie. So this is more of like a Fight Club of philosophers, shapeshifters, wizards, wordsmiths, spellbinders, hustlers, as well as fighters, warriors, and players, of course. That's one of the most attractive features about being in IMC Nation is we know how to communicate with women. We know how to lead relationships. We know how to lead multiple relationships. We understand something about that the world is very hungry for. Men are very hungry for. Women they don't even know that they're hungry for it. They're hungry for the kind of man that this is. They don't know what that looks like, but they're hungry for it. They have an itch, an insatiable itch. Like someone that's malnourished but doesn't know it. They're like, because the soils have become depleted, and so they're lacking in like selenium or copper or some like micronutrient that they need. Not a lot of, but they need it. And over time, they don't know that they had this insatiable hunger or an itch or something going on in their pancreas or their thyroid or something. Not realizing it's just a little bit of accumulation of like too much potassium or something because all the potassium chemical fertilizers. They don't know it because they're so displaced from the source of their food that they don't realize that they're eating too much of one thing, not enough of another, let alone if they're eating processed foods and donuts and sodas and things. So that's how people are in relationships, especially women. Women don't know shit about relationships. What they know is that they've been attracting it all their lives. So they're getting a lot of male attention and they're all jaded by all that because men have been trying to take advantage of them. And that's what people do. They try to take advantage of people. But men are so ignorant and unaware, and they're so far from their nature, just like people are so far from the soil, so far from the food where it's grown. They don't know the cow. They didn't slaughter the cow. They don't know where the drink came from, where those orange juice came from. What the fuck? And people don't know where their nature is, where the source of their impulses are, their desires, what they're seeking. The man is seeking multiple women, but he doesn't get it. That's his itch. A lot of people, because he's never been talked to like that. He doesn't know that, hey, you're probably seeking multiple women. So he may have visions and he doesn't even recognize it. He has imaginations. He has fantasies and things growing up that he's probably suppressed and now doesn't really think about it too much, except it gets leaked out in weird, perverted imagination that he has, and doesn't realize that's his nature, just like the person that's not eating enough silicon and their fingernails get brittle. And they don't realize that their fingernails are getting brittle. They're trying to do all this topical ointment and shit. Bro, you just need to eat some Brazil nuts or something. Like, get some silicon in there. And they don't get it. So that's where we come in, where it's like, bro, you're too soft. You need to sleep on the floor. Bro, you need to take some cold showers. You're missing something. Bro, you need to get punched in the face a few times with the glove on. You're missing an element. You're never going to be an expression of man, a healthy man, until you get all these missing elements. And so we have a system, but, you know, it's how you organize the system, how you organize your life. That's what I was going to talk about on this episode. Because it came to me earlier as I was resting and then meditating, and it's just a deeper insight of something I've known for a while, or my understanding that I've had for a while. I used to teach a lot on law of attraction in my silent flute because I learned so much from AZD and his references, and I would read those, and it was just like I was coming from the engineering world as a PhD, master's and undergraduate of engineering. It was just hard science, whatever, Western physical science. And, you know, so when we got to law of attraction and using your imagination and all the things that had worked for me with AZD. I mean, there were early on in my first year of working with AZD, and I applied a technique and I got the girl 3 weeks later exactly how I had imagined it. And I started to realize, oh, there is something to this law of attraction. I started to manifest yoga business, better income. It wasn't the mistake is that you think it comes out of thin air. You got to put in the work, the imagining and the visualization puts things in order so that you can see the pathway you need to take. Your mind, you can use it to figure out what you got to do, but it's not going to be you sitting and thinking until it vanishes or appears right in front of you. So, but it starts with imagination. Because to build the house, you got to see it first. To dig the valley, you got to see it first. Anything, you got to see it. Build the body, you got to see it first. If you don't see it and you're just doing some activity, but you don't know where you're going with it, you'll give up, you'll get wayward, you'll go on some other direction. So you got to have a vision. And then how clear, and so I'm going to dim it right now because that's just what we do is people walk girlfriends by. So that's what I do. It's a respect. I'm dimming my voice and don't need to do the thing right now. The podcast will pause for like 5-10 seconds. That's just what it is. Because it's actually more comfortable for me to dim my voice as my housemate walks his girlfriend by than it is for me to push through it and try to make it not uncomfortable while I talk. Even maybe I'll figure out a better way to do it in the future, but that's what that is. If you ever see that pause, that's called respect. And you wouldn't even experience that in your life. Guys will born, live, die, never experience doing that or receiving that respect from another man. And it's a daily thing here. That's why our evolution is so fast. And you don't see it because so much of the evolution is in our communication. So you might see it on my streams or whatever. Oh, this computer is low battery. I'm going to need to get something soon. You will see it over time manifested in like how we dress, how we look, eventually our success. Somebody may come around now and see me and see, 6-figure earner, like looks good, confident, talks about having girlfriends or whatever, not realizing where I came from at the beginning of my journey. No clue. I was just on the officers meeting. So many guys don't have a clue the condition I was in. Shamir, he doesn't have a clue what condition I was in. He came on board. I was already moved to San Jose. That was his first, introduction to me. So where was I going with this? Oh, organizing. So with the law of attraction, organizing your life, so much of the law of attraction, which is what all the spiritual people got wrong. I'm Yogi Chris. Take my word for it. Yogi Chris, PhD. I don't push that so much. I want to push it less. But yeah, PhD, whatever. Yogi, made it in the yoga world. Successful. More than any man except for some old hippie dork who's probably worse at yoga than me. He's just been at it longer. All the spiritual people get it wrong. That so much of your law of attraction is in your communication with people, because you're going to need the cooperation of other human beings to manifest what you're going for. If you want to do it cleanly, meaning you're not having regrets or you didn't compromise something. For example, some people may wish to escape, go somewhere romantic, like a mountain cabin or a beach somewhere they have some place they want to go. They want to get away from people. They want to do their own, be at peace. If they just up and left their whole life, it would leave a big vacuum. People would count on them. People would be upset, disappointed, maybe depending on them. It would leave people hanging. Maybe some debts would fall on other family members. They haven't organized their life enough to go do that without regret. If they go do that, they'll be thinking about all the shit that they left undone. Not that they should have pursued that passion or this passion, but that they did people wrong because they took and didn't give enough back before they left. You got to tie up your loose ends before you go and do something like that. That's called, you need the organization and cooperation with people. What you'll find is in the process of handling all of those relationships before you go and live your dream, that you actually don't need to go and live that dream. That dream is just some escape fantasy you have. That your communications with people, your relationships are actually so bad that that's what you're trying to escape from. Your work relationships, your family relationships, your friends or lack of friends, girls or definitely lack of girls, is why you think going over there is going to be better for you. And so on this journey, I learned, okay, I got to handle all my communication lines. If I have 100 communication lines with 100 different people, I won't even allow 3 to be negative. 2, 1, I won't allow any to be adversarial to my purpose. Let's say at the time, I'm pushing yoga. I'm selling yoga. You don't have to come and take my yoga class, but don't leave me on red. Don't talk shit about me. Don't pretend like you're coming and then not come. Talk to me about it. Eventually, we won't be interacting very much if you're not involved with my yoga at all, unless we have some really other great commonalities. And if that's the case, then okay, that's fine. You don't have to be my yoga student for us to be friends. But I don't have that much space in my life for friends that aren't related to my yoga business. Some space, but not a lot, because it's my life, dude. You got to get that. So I got to clean through all my 1,500 friends on whatever platforms. And then I start getting into IMC, and it's like, okay, I'm about this player's life. Granted, I didn't really know how to talk about it back then, how to live about it. I was a phony. I saw, I don't know, even fake phony is kind of hard. I was split up inside where I had this beingness and this skill set and these ambitions. And then I had this normie life that I was trying to nurture or carry along with me, a plan B or whatever. Eventually I had to kill that. And that's what, going through all my comm lines, each individual is a comm line with that person. And is it orderly? Am I honest? Is it transparent? Do they know what I'm about? That's something so different about the players of IMC. And then every other player in every other company of every other school of philosophy of pickup, dating, men's advice, they all lack transparency and honesty. And some of them are more. The thing is that they're lying to themselves because they're not honest about their true nature and what they truly want. You don't have to be a savage animal, but that's actually not human nature to be a savage animal. When we say like our human nature, I don't mean hit her over the head and drag her off to your cave. I think that's also an aberrated individual. Now, they might do that to a warring tribe or whatever, and that is more animal. The fight for survival, if you're starving, is going to make you in a certain way. So we don't need to get into that right now. But what I'm saying is that in the process of growing into your dream, how you want your life to be, your income, your relationships, where you're living, your daily habits, what kind of food you eat, what kind of vehicle you drive or how you get around, your relationships with your parents, how you look, your fitness. When you see how you're getting there, you got to organize shit. The way you're living is not going to get you there. The way you're living is getting you at the very most a vision of where you want to go. Now you got to start changing your wake up, your diet, your daily habits, the schedule, how you run things, and the missing link for all the spiritual people, how you communicate with people. All the people in your life. I am better than most that I've seen in IMC Nation who are already better than most in the world at upgrading myself. And then it's not just the upgrade, but it's taking my upgrade and communicating to my world that I've changed. And then anybody who's not with me gets removed. Just like I was just telling Sultan. So he has a list of like 600 people he messages, but like 400 of them aren't even quality enough to keep messaging. Delete them. As you make your pass through your list, delete them so that you start giving your time to the people that give something back. And you just got to prioritize what you want back from them, because that's why people, they can't, disobey their parents or whatever, because their parents are still paying bills, paying their cell phone, paying for things. And so they can't go against their approval because that'll cut off some of their survival if they do that. So they're chained. But if you don't need a cell phone, if you don't need their roof over your head, if you're willing to go and do this, sleep in a tent, stay at a friend's house, stay at your girlfriend's house, if you absolutely have to, stay in a garage, you don't need a cell phone, you use a landline, you get a prepaid, do something else, figure it out. Go clean up some yards, do some yard work, dog sit, whatever, man. Be a hustler. Like Gary Vee has a bunch of ideas about that, just like go to like Facebook ad and there's a bunch of free stuff and you just go and pick it up and then you resell it for $10 and you made $10. Like learn the skills of sales and entrepreneurship and hustle, get out of that condition, and the less people can hold things over you. And then they'll start respecting you. For example, your parents will start respecting you. Then you can be honest with them. And if they disapprove, you don't need their approval. When you don't need their approval and they see you don't need their approval, all of a sudden they mildly approve. There's something weird that happens. They don't necessarily approve of the idea, but they'll warm up to it when they see that you've manned up about it. And that's just life. People will do that when you've manned up about it. But you got to organize so that your world is in cooperation with your vision, not antagonistic to your vision. And that takes skills of communication. That's where we come in. That's what AZD Mastermind University is. It's what all these trainings are. You're paying for that. Like they were going over the budget with me in the last meeting, the officers meeting. So much money for rent, this and that, living in a base. And then, of course, all the training with AZD. And so they don't even have any money for dates. And I'm like, dude, you don't need any money for dates. Until you can make more than that minimum that you need, you don't need any women. Now you could stop training with AZD, save the $2,000 a month, and then you got $2,000 for dates. Go ahead, take a girl out for a $100 date 20 times this month. First of all, you're not even going to get 20 girls. If you get one girl and take her out 20 times, you're going to be so sick of her, you're not going to want to spend that much money. You wouldn't even know how to spend $100 on a girl without becoming a trick. You'd spend $5,000 or you'd spend $5,000. You don't know how to do like something in the middle. And then you're going to get miserable. because you're not going to have the skills to get women to live in happy relationships. You're going to be a trick. And then you're going to realize that all that money, I mean, you can make $10,000. What are you going to do with it? You're not going to buy loyalty. You're not going to buy quality, heart-to-heart connection. It's going to be fake, and you're going to be duped. And if you could be duped there, just like all the women that would be jaded because they've been attracting men, they haven't had a strong male figure to protect them all their life. So they developed when they were young or whatever. If they were any attractive women, men came after them, probably got abused when they were a young girl. If not, then they're still having men come at them since they're 13, 14, 15, 16. Never having a man really protect them at school, on the way home, like barely. Even if they had an overprotective dad, wasn't around most of her interactions. She wasn't at home. She wasn't a country girl that was at home. Like, totally jaded by men taking advantage of her. Men who have money, who think that they can get anywhere with relationships, you've just been taken advantage of. It might seem like you're not, but you're accumulating experience after experience of, and this is a minority of the audience I'm even talking to that has money like this. Let's just say a man over 6 figures, but from a young age, like, man, you don't know how to really connect with a woman. You know how to maybe have certain standards for compliance, but you're never going to get that deeper because it takes work, dude. And you're going to have to get through some uncomfortable spaces. And you're just going to buy the next girl instead of working it out with that girl. Not that you need to work it out, but you're not going to acquire the skills of how to lead her through her darkness. Just because she's higher quality, maybe more beautiful, maybe came from a better upbringing or whatever, she's got so much darkness. She's a mess. Women are a mess. Just an absolute mess. They're getting by because their beauty gets them something. Even into old age, they'll be 60, 70. Some guy's going to want to help. And since she has a vote, she's going to vote for socialist handouts anyway if she can't make it. No man was good enough until she wasn't good enough, and then men are the problem, you know? And that's just what her mentality is going to be. And she, generically, as a female, has half the vote. So if most of them think that way, and they convince a bunch of weak liberal men who are starving for that pussy to vote in the same way, then all of a sudden they have a majority, and they're voting more and more socialist, more and more feminist, more and more socialist and feminist. That's fine. Make it more and more difficult for a real man to succeed, and I will still succeed, and I'll get all the women, and I'll get all the business, and I'll get the tightest friends, and I'll have all the influence moving forward. Because culture is not just, I forget what you call it, but just going in one direction with the curve. It oscillates between different steady states, different stable equilibrium. That's the Red Queen effect. So it goes between monogamy is the better strategy, polygamy is the better strategy, monogamy is the better strategy, polygamy is the better strategy. It swims like that through time. And that's just what it is now, where men are so weak and women are so lost. And I mean mentally men, and also physically now with testosterone. They're so weak and women are so lost that any man with wisdom can come in if he has true wisdom and self-awareness, where he doesn't lose himself in the drama that women bring. And he could lead 1,000 women if they can all hear his voice. And that might be better survival for her, seeing that man once a year to be with him. And then just hearing his philosophy all the time might mean higher survival for her than being with any other man that she could get. Because what would that spell out? You have a kid with that loser, you waste your body at that, or you don't have a kid, and then why are you with that loser? Well, what if she could do both? Well, she could. That's where the man of value has standards. Yeah, you could be with that man and listen to me, or actually, if you want to listen to me, you can't be with that man. And now she has to decide. And then the man starts to see his real value. It's like the man who tries to get a loan out for some training, and he realizes he can't refinance his car because it's not worth anything. He realizes that he has no credit worthiness. He can only get like a $300 prepaid card or something. He realizes that nobody's willing to loan him money. And all of a sudden he realizes that that's how much you're worth, bro. You're worth zero. So he goes to the girlfriend and he's like, actually, you can't be with anybody else if you want to be with me. And she leaves. That's how much you're worth to her, bro. Zero. She was just using you. So that's how you test it. You see it. And then go from there, move forward. Now, I've gone through hundreds and hundreds of women that didn't meet the cut. Some of them could make the cut, more or less, just communicating with them. They couldn't make the cut. A lot of experience at rejection, where I think the girl is liking me and then turns the other way. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? I thought, like, you just don't take them seriously. I take my life seriously. The women that contribute to my life and they get tested, more and more, the more they're tested, the more I trust them, the more I believe them, the more I want them around, the more I value them. Is where there's levels to this. And I'm not asking anything that I wouldn't ask of myself, that I don't do myself. I haven't done myself and will continue to do myself. Generosity of time, of energy, of mentality. The same thing that I invested in my friend Brian Casella, that I invested in my old girlfriend, that I even invested in my parents, that allowed them to generously help me out when I needed to build my business. That's that value, that intangible value of mentality and mindset that I want to give, and give more than what you're giving. That's why the TikTokers and all the people freely watching freeloaders, I'm giving more than you're giving, but eventually it's going to build up inside of you and you're going to want to give. And I tell you, when you give then and you sign up for AZD'S Mastermind University, you're going to receive 1,000 times more than you give. And again, you'll be in debt. You'll be in debt karmically. You're going to receive so much more than you pay, not in quantity of lectures, in the quality. As soon as you watch the first 10 minutes of the first lecture you watch, you're going to realize that you gave less than what you're receiving. It's going to fix your mindset like that. And you're going to realize all of your drama and problems, the stuff that you're going through that made you sign up in the first place, because you're not supporting. It's not, I just want to support you. You got something that you want to improve. And I'm telling you, so do I. So wherever you are, if you're not 6 figures and 3 girlfriends, then you definitely got stuff to, and you're listening to me. If you're a man, if you're still listening, then you want multiple girlfriends and you want 6 figures. And if you don't have that, then you got some problems. You got to overcome. Why aren't you? And the mastermind can help. Faux show. Because that's how I built my business. Just apply the references, apply the teachings. The references meaning read this book, watch this, whatever. And go and apply it in your life. You learn how to do a 1-2 punch. Now go and spar 1-2. Practice your 1-2. Hit it. Do the 1-2. You learn how to sell. Now go sell something. You learn how to invest. Now go invest something and make it work. You learn how to pick up chicks. Now go pick up chicks. You learn how to have relationships. Now have some relationships. Put it into practice. And then you just organize everything and you keep ascending, and you organize and you ascend, and you organize and you ascend. And by organize, I mean when you have new mindset, new mentalities, new understandings, new visions or ambitions, entrepreneurial journeys, new plans with your life. You update your world. And the people that are not for it are against it. Now, keep in mind, you are getting better at communicating. So that means you're not as good as you'll be next year, which means next year you'll look back and think I was pretty bad. And so you may be making mistakes of communication when you update your world, and that's why they don't go with you. So you got to face that. That's what I tell the girl. She has a problem with me. Well, you're just mean. Well, you don't have to be with me. And I'll face my character flaw, but I'm not going to be with a girl that thinks that she can tell me I'm mean. You leave, I'll deal with the heartbreak, and I'll grow. And you won't get the benefit from my growth because you'll be gone. And if you're going to stay, then find a better way to tell me something like that, because the way you're telling me that, I'm breaking up with you. Well, you're being unreasonable. Fine, leave. Like, there's only 2 ways to go. You submit or you leave, because I won't be around you. And I get it. I'm not perfect, but I'm better than you. I'm not going to dim my light because you think it's too much. You do it my way or the highway. And then you got to face how valuable are you, because you might be left alone if you do that with everybody. So, well, better to find out sooner than later. That's how you start building. Because if you're lying to yourself and you're confused your whole life thinking you have value, and then you don't, but you never knew that, well, you'll be old and then realize that you don't have value and nobody's around. So it's better to find out sooner that you don't have any value with people. I don't think I had too much value with people, or I was ignoring my value. When I stopped doing the PhD sciences, none of those people stuck with me. When I stopped doing the wrestling, only the guys that did drugs stuck with it. And then when I stopped doing the drugs and wrestling, then nobody from that era stuck with it. Like with me, we didn't stay in communication. Yoga, every now and then, a couple people that, I have positive communication with, but they're not in my life anymore. My oldest friend is AZD, and then Brian Casella. Those are my longest relationships ongoing besides my parents, family, That's fine. That's fine with me. I've upgraded. Okay. So I think I've gotten my energy out there. Are there any inspirations? First with Josiah, and then with Master myself, and I'll look if you guys have any comments here.
Oh, man.
Oh, he wants to come all the way over here on camera. All right, 1 second.
It's only because it's gonna like echo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have my earphones in.
Oh, yeah. We'll just take the earphones out. Okay. 3,000 likes, but no comments. That's so interesting. Yeah. Don't you just mute there.
Okay.
Yeah, mute there. Take the headphones out. Just speak because the microphone's right here. You could come over here. I was just saying this. I don't know if this will be the main talk that I was gonna have you on. I'm just if you had any thoughts about what I was saying.
Yeah, man.
Skinheads United. Fabio, I'm blocking you because you're an idiot. I don't even want you around. You could go. Yeah. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so man, there's a lot of value that was said just within like this 40-minute podcast, a little over 40 minutes. The thing that stuck out to me the most though was when you was talking about respect, respect among men, you know. So as brothers know inside IMC Nation, I moved here to Phoenix. I'm from Base 5. I moved from Hawaii, out of all places.
Josiah.
Now, there was a moment where there was another brother who was part of IMC. I'm not going to mention his name, but he ended up moving to Arizona as well, but communication fell out. And from my understanding, he's no longer tracking with IMC Nation. And the last I heard, he's with his girl, he has children and stuff like that. But the reason why I bring this up is because, respect among men is something that's been lost today, at least in society. Like the respect that you would find inside IMC Nation compared to anywhere else, like you really can't compare it. Okay. And like the fact that whenever our brother, and this is for all the bases, whenever our brother brings another girl in, whether it is his girlfriend or not, the fact that we can respect him by not talking to the girl, by turning away, and just having this ethical code about it is like value beyond comparison. Like I've been through living with my parents, I've been through living with my girlfriend, I've been through living by myself, and not one of those conditions ever held any kind of respect. Especially when I was living with other people, men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment I bring in a girlfriend, then my brother, supposedly my friend, is already trying to like hug her and get a ball on her and stuff.
Gross.
Like that. Yeah, it's this.
I'm gonna get the charger.
And the thing about it is that I always knew it was like internally, I always knew it was wrong, but there was no one there to point it out and say, yo, like that's disrespectful, but like that's the way society operates, man. Like you ain't gonna find that kind of level of respect here in IMC Nation. That's one of the things that makes it so valuable. Just one of the things. There's so many more. So I mean, guys, boys, like men out there, if you're living with your girlfriend, you gotta move on, man. You cannot live with your girlfriend because she will, in short, destroy your life. If you're living with your parents, they may not destroy your life, but they will hold you back. And
which is destroying your life. It's destroying like what you would create if it wasn't for them. Mm-hmm. If they're holding you back,
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, I was going to become a yogi after my PhD. There was some resistance from my parents to because they had co-signed on some loans or whatever, and am I going to make enough money to pay that back? And you're leaving all that behind. Or let's say when I was going to get my first tattoo, and that's going to affect my ability to get hired as a professional engineer. And so if I had fallen into agreement with them, it would have destroyed this life. This life wouldn't exist. You see, would have totally destroyed what I would have created had they not done that, or had I not been in agreement with them. So if you go into agreement with people that don't share the same vision as you, it's going to destroy the universe you would have been living in 5 years from now. No longer, it's kind of like the butterfly effect or something. You go back in time, kick the ball or whatever, and then that person vanishes, and then they didn't exist in 5 years. It's kind of like that. Your life vanishes, you'd be in a different life.
Mm-hmm. I know some people out there are probably like, I live with good friends and stuff like that, and it can work. I don't think it will, because if they're not part of it. So I'm just speaking from experience here. I had my friends, I had my clique, my group, and the more that I invested into IMC Nation, you know, the more I would invest into the philosophy of it and whatnot, the way that we live and stuff. And there comes a point where like you almost hit like a split road because you start understanding and start realizing like what's really been true all this time. And then compared to the people who are not studying, they think you're either crazy, they think you're going down the wrong path. All of a sudden they start to play like the judge for you. And like, you know, like what the fuck is that shit?
Yeah. Yeah, it's called suppressive. They're suppressive. Okay. So we'll talk with Josiah here in a minute about his stay in residency because he's here from Base Phoenix. We also have Base Phoenix leader, Master myself, a.k.a. Jordan Amari, if you had any comments. And then we have a couple of comments on TikTok that I'll answer. I don't know if those people are still on, but I'll still answer it.
Oh, yeah.
This is JD.
Yes, sir. I'll tap in real quick. Yeah, you know, what I love about IMC, what I see on a consistent basis within IMC Nation is men who, you know, believe in themselves enough to invest in themselves, right?
And I want to make sure, because I don't think it was clear to the audience, this is the base leader for the base where Josiah is from. Josiah moved from Hawaii to Phoenix, Arizona to live at Master Myself's base, where at the time, 5 other guys were living there. 2 have moved on to another base, and it's a base of 4 guys now. There's 4 IMC guys living there. Josiah flew here to San Jose, California, 10-hour flight or something, 10-hour drive, 2-hour flight or something, to live here for 2 weeks to get training from AZD. So he goes back to Base Phoenix as a guardian under the base leader, Master Myself. Master Myself is the guy speaking right now. Base 5 Phoenix leader. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's just so understanding like all that movement that you were just describing, like, you know, going back and forth between city to city, getting this training here, you know, moving from, you know, the place that, Josiah grew up at, and, you know, the other brothers that also have moved here from where they were, you know, that it's not a light movement, you know, but it takes a lot. It's an investment, but it's so aligning with IMC Nation is, you know, a whole bunch of men that are, you know, investing in themselves, you know, to the fullest extent, by, you know, not only, you know, applying this philosophy, listening to it, being a part of the class and so on and so forth, but creating a lifestyle around it. You know, that's where the real value is. So that's what I enjoy about IMC Nation at the core of everything. I just see there's a whole bunch of men that are collectively investing in themselves and you know, aiming to help other men also do the same thing by, you know, creating a lifestyle, inviting people, you know, being a part of these events and you know, everything that we're creating within IMC. So yeah, that's just, you know, adding to what was being said here.
Hell yeah. Cool. Let me just go. Okay. All right. So real quick, there was how do we get the opportunity to live on base with y'all? You just join the link that is in the bio for signing up for the daily classes. You got to learn the philosophy because, you know, the guys that live together are some of the top guys that have been studying for many years. And some of them are more recent, like studying 4, 5, 6 months, and then they get into a base because they hella commit. And, you know, so you'll learn more about the process then. You join the program, I can orient you. I'll do an orientation call with you. You get to study the philosophies and things, and then you'll see how in agreement you are with the lifestyle as you learn the ins and outs of it. If it turns out you're not ready to just move or move into a base with guys, because it would also depend on those other guys. They got to meet you and like you and whatever. Then you'll still benefit a lot from the program because that's related to another question that someone asked earlier about how can we improve our communication skills? Probably the best way is find a teacher, someone that you want to communicate like they do in whatever way. It doesn't have to be 100% like them, but like with AZD's case, the way he communicated with women, which was my weakest link, I think, turns out there's so many facets to that. If you want to get good with women, you got to get good at like everything in your life. And so I actually had many other weaknesses. The women was just the most apparent that I felt the most. And so I liked how he communicated with women. I saw a bunch of other master coaches and he was the best in my opinion. So, you know, I learned his communicate, and then from him has come many references. So I've learned, you know, those, but that comes through the teacher, gives you the references that made them the way that they are. So best way is learn from a teacher. And of course, I'm here telling you I recommend AZD. So click the link in the bio is also a suggestion for you. Okay, I feel like women walk all over me. Again, join the class, man. There's all shapes, sizes, and breeds. What is the philosophy? I don't know. Are you still on? That's a chick asking that. You are still on. If you could be more specific, what is the philosophy? Here, the philosophy is IMC Nation philosophy, which is a composite. Originally, it was called Integrated Mental Concepts. It had other names too before that and after that. Now it's called differently. It's an acronym. But that was the philosophy. It was integrated mental concepts. So backbone is Stoicism, some other schools of thought, many of which are taboo. So if I name them, it might put you off and you'd be like, oh, not them. But that's a slave mentality. So I don't need to give you all those right now. You're a girl, so you're never going to be on the program. But if you want to DM me and ask me more specifically, then, I'll see if you're real and then I'll talk to you about it. Okay. I thought there was something else. No, maybe that was it. And then there was one other thing over here, and then we'll circle back to Josiah about his residency. How do you turn savage mode back on? Well, we are probably defining those words differently. So, like, what do you mean by savage mode? I don't know if you're still on, but I'm giving you how I would answer the question. What do you mean by savage mode? What does that concept mean to you? Because that would change the answer. How it means to me, which I don't want to get into the etymology and defining all these words for you, but, I think men are deficient in testosterone. I think they're deficient in discipline. They're deficient from supportive environments. And so you live in the mud, basically. You're not going to be very savage if you're up to your ears in mud. So you got to get out of the mud. You got to feed yourself right, rest right, feed your mind the right ideas. It takes time. Just because you start eating right, you still got lots of shit built into your tissues. It takes time to change your mind. And, you got to improve your relationships. And piece by piece, day by day. Again, you need a teacher. That's why I do these streams. I'm demonstrating. I'm a student. I'm just demonstrating what the teachings have done for me in my expression. And if you like it, me as just a representative, then I recommend sign up. Link in the bio. Okay. Let's see. So we're here with Josiah. We'll wrap it up just for the last 5 minutes or so. How it has Josiah came here from Phoenix to do residency training to become an officer. So you've been here for how many days and nights?
It's only been 3 days, man.
3 days. And you've been to our fight training twice, 2 different nights. So there's 2 classes, so 4 classes. And you haven't gone out with us yet, so that'll be this weekend.
Yep.
You did an officers meeting. You've been here in the living room and in the kitchen talk. So it's not like a very exciting itinerary of, schedule of events. Like we're not running you, it's just living with us. And so what can you say about the last 3 days?
Man, so just being here on the first day, as soon as I stepped through those doors, everything felt different in the fact that I'm finally learning, but not necessarily from a distance. For the longest time I would study the tech, I would study the philosophy.
How long had you studied from Hawaii?
Man, see, I remember I was going to college when I came across AZD'S, so it may have been around maybe 2015, give or take. And I've been studying from a distance basically, and that's only going to get you so far, so long story short, I took the step to move from Hawaii to help form the Base 5, join Base 5, and even then I was still studying from a distance. So then I took the next step, got sponsored over here. Now at Base 1, becoming a Guardian. And now that I'm finally here in person, where the source is,
sponsored, meaning some of the wealthier guys in the community, IMC Nation, decided I'm going to pay $5,000 for this guy to get trained because we see potential in his future. That's called a network. That's called your net worth is your network. That's called knowing people that aren't suppressive of your goals, but support your goals. But they didn't just pick somebody out of a hat. They knew Josiah. They liked Josiah. They had talked with him. And that's what it's when the guy's asking, how do I get into a base? Well, you got to be known, liked, and be all about this stuff. And then maybe somebody can help you out.
So finally being here inside person, I know it's only been 3 days, but I'm already starting to to like get the rhythm of how things are supposed to be run at a base. Like when it comes to the whole scheduling, the way you guys go about your days and whatnot, like from my perspective, there's never a time that's wasted. Compared to when living with other people, like there's always time that's being wasted from them and not necessarily invested. And that makes the big, if not the biggest difference.
Can you expand on that? What do you mean?
So being out here, Sultan has things to do, Fernando has things to do, AZD has things to do, and you yourself have things to do. When I was living with my roommates at the time, like, yeah, they had things to do, like go to work, come back. But then, like, when it came towards the downtime, like there was no lockdown. There was no, like, meetings in the kitchen or, like, meetings outside here. So the parlor and just masterminding, basically. It was always, well, at least from my experience, it was always party. Party, drugs, the whole shebang. And it just came to a point where it's just a waste of time. Like, I'm literally investing my time by wasting it, and that did not sit right with me. So now being over here, like there is none of that. There's focus, there's sharpness, there's intention, and there's a purpose behind everything that we're doing, and it trails back down to all the bases, to all the brothers of IMC, and to just pretty much everything. Like through this process, like not only do you learn the philosophy, but you're learning to become your own character. Okay, the potential. And I know a lot of guys know that they have potential there, but at the same time they don't know what it is until someone tells them, like, yo, you have the potential, you can learn this thing, like you can become your own character without other people telling you how to become it.
So is that what you're realizing staying here? Or what's different about what epiphanies, realizations, or level ups, or anything from living here for 3 days? Anything yet, or nothing?
Well, other than what I said thus far, I still have about 12 days to go. Like I feel like I just barely tapped in. Like being in field, excited for that. But like going to LA and just all that jazz.
There definitely is going to be a lot of change in those two kind of big things. But soak it up the time before then, because those events are going to move and come and go so fast. It's going to be a whirlwind, and when it's all done, then you'll realize how much you've changed. You may not realize how much you've changed already. You're not measuring it because you're in our echo chamber where you're just interacting with us or whatever. That's what I mean about the more you interact with your world. I don't know if you've talked with Luna, Prophet, Master, myself while you've been here, or if you're doing your sales or outreach about the projects we were talking about, getting in communication with people will ping back how you've changed.
And a funny thing I actually did, because we had a base meeting today, and Luna actually pointed out the difference, like that he already notices. And it's not the way I look or like what I'm wearing that's the difference, but it's the way that I'm communicating, the way I'm actually carrying myself, whatever that meant for him. But it's evident that it's there from his perspective, and like to me, like I can believe that. Like I don't think he's bullshitting.
Yeah, of course.
For
sure. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll tap in with Josiah again, maybe even in another episode, but definitely some of these streams that I do are not saved on Enlightened Masculinity. You can look up Enlightened Masculinity on Apple, Spotify, and all the Podbean, and they're on like 10 platforms or something. 300 or so episodes. You can see my interviews with lots of other IMC guys. And, if you liked this philosophy, so much of it is a reflection of what AZD teaches, and then my own studies. And that's just what it is. So that's Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. Look it up, leave a review if you like it. And everybody online, I appreciate your participation, all the thousands of likes and everything. Very impressive. Click the link in the bio, like I always say, get involved or DM this account and, get in communication with us. Same with the YouTubers and the Facebookers and Instagram and all that. We'll see you on the next episode. Praise the Lord. Jai Guru Dev.